Alrighty, everybody, let's go through our first iPad training day, and we'll get started here on the right foot. So today's agenda, what we're going to look at are a few different things. Number one, reviewing the user agreement. Second, talking about app downloading procedures. Third, looking at quick fixes and what you can do, and you'll get a help sheet here as well. Fourth, we're going to look at setting up your Touch ID and passcode lock, making sure that those are on there so that your stuff is secure on here. And finally, setting up your email. So let's start with this. Why training? I think everybody knows how to play games on an iPad, but being productive is something a little bit different, and we want to make sure that we get started off with this school year on the right foot. We want to make sure we're doing the right things, and we want to make sure that we're using this for the right purposes. So let's start with our iPad user agreement. Everybody was required to sign off on this before they were able to use their device. A couple of the key ideas that we want to really focus on here. First, we have educational use. These iPads are for educational use, not for gaming. You do not have access to the App Store this year, and that's one of the reasons, is because we don't want games to be the emphasis. There are a couple of things we need to be aware of, though. With these iPads, we need you to use them in ways that meet academic integrity standards, so you cannot use them, and you should not use them in ways in which you're plagiarizing or doing anything along those lines. And we also want you to be aware that when it comes to what you're doing on your iPad, we can see it and we can monitor what is on your iPad at any given time. You may clear the history or try to use private browsing or something along those lines, but every single web page that you go to, we can monitor and we have the right to check at any given time. We want that to be very clear to you. So in class, you should not be using this for things that are non-educational. You should not be going and looking at random websites. Please keep that in mind. That is something that teachers are aware of and they will be watching out for. In terms of the general care of your iPad, we don't want them to break. I think that's pretty self-explanatory and understandable. So some things we wanted to warn you about. Number one, keep these away from food and drinks. That's a very easy way to damage something along those lines. In terms of losing it, make sure you know where your iPad is. Make sure that you are not putting it somewhere that you could lose it as well, because that's obviously a problem as well. In terms of some specific restrictions that we have on these iPads that we want you to be aware of. Number one, you are not allowed to take these into the restroom or into the locker room unless locker room that is for a sports team in which you are going to have it locked away during practice, and that's just because it's after school hours. In terms of your photos, you are not allowed to take pictures of other people without their permission. That is a blatant violation of our user agreement. You will get in trouble for that. And just so you know, just like searching the internet, we are allowed to search your camera roll at any point in time on this device because it is a school-issued device. Please make sure that you follow those rules. We do not want to have any issues with that, and that is something that you need to be aware of. Finally, repairs and damages is the last section of that agreement. If something were to happen to this, we do not want you going in and trying to jailbreak your iPad or try to repair it on your own. We will do that, and we have a lot of things in place that I'll discuss here in a minute about how you can get help with those types of situations. Do keep in mind, though, that there is cost associated with this. If you were to damage your iPad intentionally, or if you are not in our insurance protection plan, it will cost you money if your iPad breaks. That is something that you really do need to be aware of. Please be careful with that. Now, to remind you about some of these specific expectations, what we have done is created a nice little image that can be used as your lock screen that will remind you of some of these key ideas. In other words, here are the key notes that we added to this. First, you're going to only use your iPad for educational purposes. Second, you're going to follow your teacher's expectations when using the iPad. Third, you know that you are not allowed to take pictures of others without their permission. Fourth, you're going to come with your iPad charged on a daily basis. Charging is essential. Fifth, you know that your internet usage is recorded and can be accessed by teachers or administrators at any time. Sixth, you will know where your iPad is at all times so you don't lose it. And seven, you will handle your iPad carefully. And notice what we have here with this language. It says slide or use Touch ID to unlock if you agree. So every time that you unlock your iPad, you are agreeing to these, and you know that these are the rules and expectations. Make sure you're aware of that. Now, what we want to do, though, is we need to make this your lock screen. So let's go through a couple steps here and make sure you can do some basic iPad tasks. In your email, you will have this lock screen image that has been sent for me. If you tap and hold on it, you can then choose to go to Save Image, which is right here on our screen. So if you go to Save Image, what will happen is it will save to your Photos app. From here, open up your Photos app, and you will find this image in there. What you can also see is down here in our little corner, we have this icon. That icon is always used to do the same thing, and that is to export or to send this somewhere else. When you click on that icon, you will see that you have a lot of choices that are made available to you. It's asking basically where do you want to send this picture to. What we're going to choose is use as wallpaper. Once you do this, it will take you to this screen, which enables you to be able to choose what type of wallpaper you want this to be. It can be the lock screen, a home screen, both. What you're going to do is choose set lock screen, but only after you do something else, and that is you move this picture into the middle of the screen. If you push your fingers along it, it will move for you. You can make it fit nice and cleanly in the middle. That is something that everybody has to do. Teachers, if you want to take a minute to go through this with the students, it might be a good place to push pause or to even just review it one more time and have the kids do it along the way. Next we have downloading apps. So just to be clear as to how this process will work, in the past what we've done is use the App Store. We are no longer going to do that now, and what we are going to use is a different app that is called Self-Service. What it is an app store that we are able to filter apps through, and we can curate which apps we would like to see appear. So in other words, we pick what apps you have access to. Teachers get to add in apps if they would like to propose them. Students, if you have something that's an educational app that you feel is really worthwhile, you can bring that to the attention of our Smart Desk members, and they know the filtering process, or will know the filtering process, and they can send them along to us to approve if we feel that there's something that may be helpful. One thing that is key in this is that you have to have your Apple ID. For every student in 4Couch, we are going to tell you that you need to not only know your password, but you should also know your security questions and the answers to those questions. If you do not currently know them, please talk to your parents about this. This will alleviate a lot of headaches throughout the year, and it will just make life easier. So please know your Apple ID, the password, and the answers to the security questions. Next up here is troubleshooting your device. So what do you do whenever you have some issues? Well, first we're going to talk about the 3 fixes. There are 3 main things that you can do to resolve almost all problems on your iPad. The first is this. When you are using your iPad, if you tap twice on this home button here, it will show you all of the apps that are currently in use. So you can see this app called UberSense was in use, and this app called the App Store, or the App Store, was in use. If you were to swipe up as it's showing with your finger, it will force quit the apps. Why might you want to do that? Well, here's an explanation. If you're using any device anywhere, a computer, whatever else, one of the common things that people do to try to fix issues is just turn it off and turn it back on. Well, within your iPad, swiping up and then reopening an app is kind of like turning it off and turning it back on. This is what Apple calls force quitting an app. So by force quitting all of your apps, that will reset them, and then when you reopen them, they will be restarted, and it will enable them to oftentimes fix the problem. This fix right here, I would say, resolves about 80% of the issues that we've seen with iPads. The next thing you can do is if you swipe up from the bottom of your screen, you'll get this menu that has quite a few different buttons. The one that we really want to focus on is this airplane. This is called airplane mode. So another type of fix that you can use is by resetting your internet. If you turn airplane mode on and then you turn it back off, what it will do is reset your wireless, so your wireless will shut off and then come back on. This is something that you can do if Blended Schools isn't working right, or another type of internet-based application isn't working. Try to turn airplane mode on and off. And finally, if none of this is working, the other restart that we have is to restart the entire iPad. There are 2 different methods for this. The first method is simply to hold in the button at the top for about 5 seconds or so. Once you do that, you'll see up here on the screen it will say swipe to power off. All you do is move your finger across, turn it back off, and then to turn it back on, you would simply, tap and hold this button for a second or 2, and then let go, and then it will turn back on for you. If, however, your iPad is just totally frozen, you can't do anything, if you hold in both the top button up here and the home button for about 5 to 10 seconds, if you hold them at the same exact time, an Apple logo will eventually show up on the screen. Once it does, you let go of those buttons, and it is going to force shut down your iPad. You can then turn it back on, and sometimes that helps too. If none of those three fixes work, however, you have two other options to get help from our help support, which is two different groups. It's our tech department from our school district, which are the adult workers who are here to help out. And then we also have our student users, which is our smart desk. The two things you can do, and in order, what we would suggest is the first, try to go to room 140, see if there's anybody there to help. And if not, you have an iPad app, that has this logo with help. You can click on that and you can type up an email that will go to our help desk, and from there it will either be our technology department that will help with the issue or our smart desk. We will filter those messages in to whoever can help quickest and whoever has the best ability to help. So if you need help, those are the things that you can do. What we've done for you here to try to make this a little bit easier and to help you to remember some of these is we've provided for you some pieces of paper that can go in the back of your iPad. Now all of your iPads have an open screen in the back. What we would like you to do is to write your name on these little cards and then put it in the back of your screen. Do not cover the barcode, but put it in the middle area there, and that is where you will have your name and section as well as these quick fixes. So if you ever need help, flip it around, look and see what it tells you to do, and then try that out. Okay? Something interesting here too that I want to note is about the internet access at home. That might be something to look at in case you get stuck and something's not working right. And teachers, if you would like to take a minute, you can let them go through that process and add these to the back of their iPads. And the next section here is on Touch ID and passcodes. So we want to make sure that your iPads are secure. However, we also want to make sure that we can gain access if we need to. One of the challenges that we had last year was that every child had their own passcode lock that they were constantly changing, and if something went wrong with an iPad, for instance, it was very hard for us to determine what was going on with the iPad and to gain access to it. So we have two methods that we're looking at this year. Number one, and I don't have this as a set slide, kids can add their own Touch ID. If you do not know how to do this, the process for this is pretty straightforward. To go into your settings, click on Touch ID, and you can add thumbprints, fingerprints, whatever else. It's a nice quick way to get in and out of your iPad. I would suggest using that. Our 8th grade students, however, you will not have Touch ID. You will just have passcodes. For everybody with their passcode lock, here's our plan. On the left is our traditional 4-number passcode lock. We are not going to be using that this year. Instead, what we're going to do is this. We're going to change over into a more complex passcode, and we're going to take a standard approach. That being that your passcode lock must be your login password. So this would be your Gmail password. It's that cat's 9 meow with the C in cats being capital and the M in meow being capital. But nonetheless, we want your login password to be your passcode lock. We understand that everybody likes to have their own. However, there are a lot of other things that are coming into play here. Parent access, teacher access, our help desk access. It's important for us to have a standard passcode lock approach. So you are required to make it so that your passcode lock is going to be your login password. If you would like to follow the steps here, here's how you can change it. First, if you go into your settings, you will see that you have passcode is one of the choices up here. From here, most of you may already have on a simple passcode. If you do, you will need to type it in again, and then you're going to need to swipe this bar over so that it is no longer green, but that the button is on the left side. From here, you're going to then go and turn passcode on, as we show there. There we go. You know what I'm going to click at here so I can get rid of our nice little drawings there. So once you turn the passcode on, it asks you now to type it in. Right here is where you would type in your cat's 9 meow or whatever it is that is your specific passcode. And then you will see that this menu pops up when it comes time for you to get back into your device. Now again, we know that this is not as convenient in some ways for everybody, but what you have to recognize is that it is a difference in maybe 2 to 3 seconds. This is not anything that I think you should be too worried about, and it is important for us to keep these consistent and something that we can use and also share with your parents too. So that must be taken care of. If it is not, that is something that is a violation of our expectations of this plan. And finally, email syncing. For those of you who have not done so yet, you need to sync your email account to your device, and here's how you can do it. First, your USC student's email is a Google account. So as you go to create your first account, you can go and click on Google here. If you have already set up an account before and you want to create a new one, you would go into the Settings app, and then on the left there is one of the tabs is titled Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. Select that. From here, let's talk about the information you're putting in. Your name is the name that is going to appear when the email arrives in somebody else's inbox. It will say that it is from Brad Wilson. So let's say you were instead to type up here under name, Gmail. It would show up in somebody else's email as Gmail. Or if you might, and I've seen many people have this where it says, this is from my iPad. And nobody wants to receive an email from my iPad. They want to know who you are. Continuing on, your email and password, that's straightforward, and then description will just tell you what it's going to look like for you in case you have multiple email accounts that are signed on. Nonetheless, that's all you need to do. Push done, and then you are wrapped up. So that was a lot for one day, but we hope that you got through all of those steps, and please let us know if you have any questions or concerns about this training. And again, we want to make sure we get everybody off on the right foot. We want to make sure you understand the rules, the expectations, and that you are set up and you have everything clearly set up the way that we would like it to here. Okay? So good luck, and let us know if you have any questions.